People talk about life-changing moments like they come with warning signs. Mine didn't. It arrived in one sentence that split my world in half. Before anything else, my name is Beatrice Williams, 70 years old, creaky knees, a tired heart, and still about to learn what real fear feels like. Megan stood at the door, gripping her suitcase. Her eyes were swollen, the kind you get after months of crying where no one sees. She'd been drowning for a long time. Widowhood, bills, 6 kids under 10. I knew she was struggling, but I didn't know she'd break like this. "Mom, they're yours now," she whispered. 6 children froze behind her. Little backpacks. Big fear. I felt something tighten inside me. "Megan, honey, what are you saying? Where are you going?" "I can't do this anymore," she said. "I'm failing. I need space before I fall apart completely." A part of me wanted to scream. Another part wanted to beg, but all I managed was a shaky breath. Parents don't get space. We get responsibility. Ethan stepped forward holding the baby. "Mom? Are you coming back after work?" That question almost broke her. But she still said, "No, sweetheart, I won't be coming back." The taxi honked. She flinched like the world was pushing her out the door. I grabbed her arm gently. "Meg, we have $50 to last 2 weeks. I don't even have milk for tomorrow." Her voice cracked. "Mom, if I stay, I'll lose myself completely. I'm sorry." And then she left. No kiss, no hug, just the sound of the door slamming echoing through the house and straight through my chest. Sophia tugged my sleeve. "Grandma, Mommy just needs a little break, right?" My voice trembled. "Come here, sweetheart." They rushed into my arms, 6 little bodies trying to make sense of the emptiness she left behind. And in that moment, I understood something terrible and true. This wasn't just the day Megan walked away. It was the day our hardest journey began, and I had no idea how close we already were to losing everything. If this story touched your heart, please subscribe. It truly means the world to us. The silence after Megan left felt heavy, like the air itself didn't know how to move. 6 little faces stared at me. No mother, no plan, just fear settling into their eyes. Ethan spoke first. "Grandma, what happens now?" I looked at him, at the baby in his arms, at the others clinging to furniture like they were bracing for an earthquake. What happens now? I didn't know, but I couldn't let them see that. "We take care of each other," I said. "That's what happens." Sophia tugged my apron. "Grandma, are they going to separate us? Like, take us to different houses?" My throat tightened so hard it hurt. A memory flashed. Kids I once knew long ago, siblings torn apart by the system, crying in different cars as the doors closed. For a second, I saw my grandbabies in those seats, their little hands reaching for each other. And my heart almost gave out. I knelt, ignoring the pain shooting through my knees. "Look at me, sweetheart. Nobody is taking you anywhere. Not one of you." "You promise?" she whispered. Ethan swallowed. "Grandma, can you really keep us together? Mom always said we were too much." That line cut deeper than I expected. It felt like someone squeezed my chest from the inside. I pulled them all in. Ethan, Sophia, Caleb, the twins, little Ava still rubbing her eyes. "You listen to me," I said, my voice shaking from something deeper than fear. "I don't care how many you are. You're mine. And as long as I'm breathing, nobody is splitting this family apart." Their arms wrapped around me like they were afraid I'd disappear next. Inside, I felt my stomach twist, because I knew the world doesn't leave broken families alone. Not neighbors, not strangers, not the people whose job is to step in. But I pushed that fear down and made the only promise I could afford to make. "I swear on my life, you will stay together." And I meant it, even though I had no idea how hard the world was about to test that promise. That first night felt longer than most years of my life. The sun had barely set, and the house already felt different. Colder, quieter, like even the walls were holding their breath. The paint was peeling near the doorway, and the kitchen light kept flickering, as if it was thinking about giving up too. Dinner was the first battle. Half a bag of noodles, 1 can of beans, stale bread. I tried to make it look like a real meal, stirring it slowly, hoping they wouldn't notice how thin it was, but kids always notice. Ethan pushed his bowl gently. "Grandma, is this enough for you too?" "I already ate," I said. A lie. Sophia kept Ava distracted with silly faces, her forced laughter filling the gaps where their mother's voice used to be. The twins argued over a spoon just to feel normal. After dinner, I tucked them into bed. 3 in one room, 3 in another. The sheets smelled like old laundry detergent. No bedtime stories tonight. My voice felt too unsteady. "Grandma?" Liam whispered. "If Mommy doesn't come back tomorrow, what do we do?" My heartbeat thudded painfully in my chest. I could feel my breath catching, coming too fast. But I smoothed his hair and said softly, "We keep going, sweetheart. One day at a time." When they finally fell asleep, I stood in the hallway, listening to 6 small breaths in the dark. My hands were trembling. I wiped the sweat from my palms on my skirt. At the kitchen table, the unpaid bills and the empty fridge felt like they were staring back at me. $50 sat next to them. Thin, tired bills that looked as scared as I felt. A wave of panic shot through me so sharp it almost made me dizzy. What if I wasn't enough? What if someone stepped in? I pressed my shaking hands flat on the table. "This is our life now," I whispered. "So I fight, starting tonight. And tomorrow would be harder." The next morning started before I was ready for it. I barely slept. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw bills, empty shelves, and flashes of the kids being pulled apart by people in suits. By sunrise, my head already throbbed. I pushed myself out of bed, my joints stiff and stubborn, heavier than usual. Everything felt heavier. In the kitchen, the fridge showed me the same sad truth. Half a carton of oatmeal, a little brown sugar, and water. No milk, no fruit, no comfort. And then a memory hit me so suddenly it almost made my knees buckle. Michael used to make pancakes on Saturdays, and for a moment, I missed him so sharply it felt like another empty chair at the table. Losing him had cracked Megan open. Losing her now cracked the rest of us. The kids shuffled in slowly. "Morning, Grandma," Ethan said, carrying Ava on his hip like a tired little parent. His shirt was too small, and his eyes looked too grown. "Morning, sweetheart. Sit down. Breakfast is almost ready." Sophia peeked into the pot. "Oatmeal again?" "Yes, baby. And we're grateful for it," I said, hoping gratitude sounded more real than fear. When I served the bowls, Liam frowned. "Grandma, why is it so watery?" I forced a smile. "Because it's healthier that way." He accepted that. "Kids always want to believe you." We ate quietly. Even Ava didn't babble. They could feel it, the way I stretched food the same way I stretched hope. Thin, but still trying. After breakfast came the morning chaos. Backpacks, shoes, knotted hair, lost papers. My mind lagged behind my body. Ethan touched my arm. "Grandma, you okay? You look tired." "I'm fine," I lied. "Just thinking." He nodded with the kind of understanding a child shouldn't have. Walking them to school felt like dragging my whole life uphill. My legs burned. Cars rushed past, people with jobs, paychecks, direction. And me? I was trying to figure out how to feed 7 people with $10 for the week. At the gate, Sophia squeezed my hand. "Grandma, well, be good. Don't worry." But worry was all I had left. When I got home, the house felt too quiet, too small. I stood in the kitchen staring at the empty counter and whispered, "I need a plan. I need something." But plans don't appear just because you beg for them, and tomorrow already felt heavier than today. By the second day, the number in my wallet felt louder than anything else. $50. I kept counting it, like maybe looking again would make it grow. It didn't. Around noon, I walked to the small grocery store on the corner. The bell over the door jingled, too cheerful for the weight I carried. Milk, bread, rice, eggs. Nothing colorful, nothing extra, just survival. At the register, The cashier scanned the items. "That'll be $42.16. My stomach dropped. 42. For almost nothing. Can you take off the eggs?" I asked. My voice felt thin, embarrassed. She removed them. $33.41. I nodded, wishing I could vanish. "Take off the rice too." She didn't judge me. She didn't need to. I kept my eyes down. Shame is quieter than hunger, but it stings longer. The new total, $24.89, felt like it scraped against my ribs as I paid. While she bagged my things, I noticed something sticking out of the top. The empty milk carton I'd forgotten to throw away. The kids had passed it around last night, hoping for a last drop. My chest tightened. Outside, the cold air cut through my sweater. The plastic bags dug into my fingers. For a moment, the street tilted under me, just enough to remind me how close I was to slipping. $25 left. 7 mouths to feed, 14 days ahead. Walking home, my thoughts moved faster than my feet. I pictured Ethan's shoes, soles peeling open, tape barely holding. Sophia asking if we could buy apples again. Ava chewing on her sleeve because we'd run out of snacks. I practiced the lies I'd need later. Maybe next week. They didn't have any. Grandma's not hungry. When I stepped inside, the house felt too quiet, too aware. I set the bags on the counter. The fridge looked a little less empty, but nowhere near enough. My hands shook. I pressed them against the counter until they stopped. "This won't work," I whispered. "Not like this." My voice cracked, but I didn't let it break. I needed a plan. A miracle. Something. Because $50 for 14 days wasn't just hardship, it was a countdown. If this story touched you, please share your feelings in the comments. Your words truly matter. I didn't expect help that day. Honestly, I didn't expect anything except maybe another problem knocking on my door. So when someone actually did knock, I braced myself. Turns out, I was wrong about the kind of knock it would be. I opened the door and found Mr. Walter Harrison, my 78-year-old neighbor, standing there with his cardigan, his glasses sliding down his nose, and that gentle smile he always wore. Walter lived alone ever since his wife passed, but he never talked about it. "Mrs. Williams," he said, "you look like you're thinking too hard. Dangerous at our age." I almost laughed. Almost. "Walter, it's been a long week." He nodded like he already knew. I heard Megan left. My chest tightened. News travels fast. "Well, this neighborhood doesn't have anything else to talk about except potholes and the weather," he said. "So yes." Despite myself, a tiny smile came out. His eyes drifted to the grocery bags behind me, the ones that weighed nothing but felt like boulders. "Mrs. Williams, are you all right?" I started to lie. "I'm fine, But the words cracked in the middle. Walter didn't push. He just softened. "Why don't you let me walk with you to the store? My legs need the exercise, and maybe accidentally buy too much. You'd be doing me a favor." "I can't accept charity," I said. "It's not charity, it's neighborly stupidity. Completely different." I let out a shaky laugh. Kindness, after so much fear, felt almost unreal. He tapped his cane gently. "Come on now, let an old man feel useful before he turns into lawn furniture." I sighed, but something inside me loosened, just a little crack in the panic. "All right, Walter. But only today. Today is all a man my age can promise," he joked. We stepped outside together. For the first time in days, the street didn't feel like it was sinking under my feet. Walter walked slowly beside me, matching my pace even though he didn't have to. His house was always quiet, but his visits never were. And I didn't know it yet, but this quiet, lonely neighbor was about to become one of the greatest blessings in our lives. For the first time since Megan left, I didn't feel completely alone. The knock came on a Tuesday afternoon, sharp, official, nothing like Walter's gentle tap. The kind of knock that tells you trouble has your address. I wiped my hands on my apron and opened the door. A woman stood there, holding a clipboard. Mid 40 seconds, neat bun, serious eyes. The type who didn't waste words. Mrs. Beatrice Williams? Yes. That's me. I'm Miss Rodriguez, with Child Protective Services. May I come in? My stomach dropped so fast I thought my knees might give out. CCPS? Mom, is something wrong? I'd like to discuss a report we received, she said calmly. Of course, a neighborhood like ours didn't stay quiet about anything. Especially not a mother leaving 6 children behind. I stepped aside. Please. Come in. The house suddenly felt too worn, too small. The kids were at the table doing homework, pencils freezing mid-air. When they saw her, Sophia whispered, "Grandma." "Who is she?" "It's all right, sweetheart," I lied. Miss Rodriguez walked through the living room, taking notes, the sagging couch, the flickering lamp, the shirts I'd mended 3 times already. She wasn't unkind, just observant. Which somehow felt worse. "Mrs. Williams," she said, "we received information that 6 minors are living here without a parent present. Is that correct?" I swallowed. "Their mother left 2 days ago." "I see." She wrote something down. "And you are their sole caregiver?" "Yes. But I love them. And I'm doing everything I can." Ethan stood up, 10 years old, already carrying the world on his shoulders. "We're okay," he said. "Grandma takes care of us. She does everything." Miss Rodriguez lifted a calming hand. "Thank you, Ethan." One of the twins, little Liam, grabbed my skirt, his voice shaking. "No," I whispered. "Nobody is taking you." "Miss," Rodriguez closed her clipboard. "Mrs. Williams, your situation is concerning. Still, it's clear the children trust you." I let out a breath, shaky and thin. "I'll need to evaluate further," she continued. "For now, they may stay, but improvements must be made." My pulse pounded. Improvements? With what money? With what strength? But I stood a little taller and said, "Mom, I'll do whatever it takes." She nodded. "I'll return soon." And as the door closed behind her, fear settled deep in my bones. This wasn't just about food anymore. Now the fight was to keep my family together. When the door closed behind Miss Rodriguez, the house felt colder than it had all week. The kids stood frozen, watching me like my reaction would decide their future. I tried to smile. It came out wrong. "Grandma?" Sophia whispered. "Is she coming back?" "Yes, sweetheart. She'll be back. That's her job." Ethan swallowed hard. "Did we do something wrong?" "Oh, honey." I pulled him close. "You didn't do anything wrong. Grown-ups just check on families when things change suddenly." "But she said things were concerning," he said. "That sounds bad." It was bad. But I couldn't let him see that. "I'll be right back," I told them gently. I stepped into the kitchen. My knees felt weak. I grabbed the counter, but the fear hit anyway, sharp, fast, almost enough to knock the air out of me. 3 months. That's what Miss Rodriguez had said. 3 months to improve conditions. 3 months to prove I was enough. I sank into a chair and finally let myself break. Tears came, hot, humiliating, unstoppable. I buried my face in my hands so the kids wouldn't hear, but my whole body shook. "What am I supposed to do?" I whispered. "How do I fix this with no money? How do I keep them safe?" For a moment, I saw the nightmare clearly. 6 kids in 6 different cars, crying for each other, my promise falling apart. Then I heard it. "Grandma?" I wiped my eyes. Little Ava stood there with her stuffed rabbit, hair messy from sleep. She climbed onto my lap without asking. "Don't cry," she whispered, patting my cheek. "We're okay. We have you." Something inside me tightened, painful, but steadying. "You're right," I told her. "Grandma just got scared." When I walked back toward the living room, I saw it. The smallest ripple of hope. In the other room, the pencils began moving again, slowly, cautiously, as if the children were waiting to see if strength would hold. A minute of fear was all I allowed myself. Not more. I stood up straighter. 3 months? I said softly but firmly. Then 3 months it is. I might have been broke, exhausted, and terrified, but surrender wasn't in me. Not then. Not ever. The next morning, I woke up before the alarm. Honestly, I'm not sure I slept at all. 3 months to save my family? That thought felt louder than anything in the quiet house. I checked the kitchen again. Half a bag of flour, some beans, 2 onions. Not enough, not even close. But I remembered something Walter mentioned. A small food stand down by the bus depot needed someone to prep and wrap burritos at 5 a.m. Cash payment. No questions asked. Brutal work, but work. I dialed the number. A gruff voice answered. Yeah? Hi, this is Beatrice Williams. I heard you might need help. You got hands? Yes. You got a back that works? On a good day? Fine. Tomorrow. 5 sharp. 10 an hour. No complaining. I exhaled. I'll be there. At 4:15 a.m. I slipped out of the house while the kids slept. The cold air bit at my cheeks. My legs felt heavy, but quitting wasn't an option. The food stand was a tiny trailer with peeling paint. A man in a stained apron, Carlos, opened the door. You're early, he said. Good. Inside was hotter than a furnace, pots boiling, tortillas steaming. He tossed me gloves. Wrap fast. People line up at 6. I tried. At first, my burritos looked like sad little pillows. No, Carlos grumbled. Tighter. Everything falls out. He showed me. I followed. My hands shook from heat and speed. Hours blurred. My back screamed. My shoulders burned. My fingers felt raw. But every time I thought about stopping, I pictured the kids eating watery oatmeal. By 9 a.m., the line slowed. Carlos handed me a small envelope. You didn't quit. Most people quit. I can't afford to, I said. I opened the envelope right there in the steam-filled trailer. When I saw $60, my breath hitched, relief sharp enough to hurt. Tomorrow, he said, 5 sharp. Walking home, every muscle in my body ached. But the $60 in my pocket felt like the first tiny miracle we'd had in a long time. For the first time in days, I felt like maybe we weren't sinking anymore. By the end of the second week, my body felt like it was running on borrowed time. Burrito shifts at dawn, walking the kids to school, cleaning, cooking, sewing, trying to stretch every dollar farther than it should go. I kept telling myself I was fine. I wasn't. That Saturday, I went to the marketplace to buy vegetables on discount, bruised apples, soft tomatoes, anything cheap enough to feed 7 people. The morning sun was bright, too bright, and the noise felt louder than usual. I bent down to check a crate of potatoes. The world swayed. Whoa, Mom? You okay? A vendor asked. I'm fine, I insisted, forcing a smile, just stood up too fast. But when I tried to straighten myself, my vision blurred, my ears rang, and before I could grab the edge of the table, my legs gave out. Everything went dark. I woke to voices. Give her space. She's waking up. Someone call Walter. He lives next door to her. She's got all those kids. She's exhausted. I opened my eyes slowly. I was lying on a folding chair behind a produce stand, something cold pressed to my forehead. A woman I barely knew, Maria, was holding my hand. She said softly, Can you hear me? I'm fine, I whispered, though even I didn't believe it. No, you're not, Maria said. You fainted. Completely out. Another vendor, a young man named Josh, brought a bottle of water. Drink this, please. I tried sitting up, and a wave of dizziness hit me. I just need to get home. My grandkids. We already called Walter, Maria said. He's meeting the kids after school. They're safe. Hearing that almost brought me to tears. Josh crouched beside me. Look, Mrs. Williams. People see you working yourself to the bone. You don't have to do all this alone. I don't have a choice. I said quietly. Yes, you do, Maria insisted. You have a community. She slipped a small bag into my lap. Vegetables, fruit, even a pack of chicken. I can't pay. You don't have to, she said. Just take it. For a moment I couldn't speak. The kindness felt overwhelming. As Josh and Maria helped me stand, I realized something. I had fallen because I was carrying too much alone, but I was getting back up because maybe I didn't have to anymore. I didn't expect laughter to return to our house so soon. Not after fainting in the middle of the marketplace, not after 2 weeks of burrito shifts, and not with CPS breathing down my neck. But sometimes, Hope walks in wearing an old cardigan and carrying a beat-up guitar case. It happened the day after my collapse. There was a knock on the door. Soft, familiar. I opened it to find Walter standing there, cheeks red from the cold, holding something behind his back. "Mrs. Williams," he said. "I brought reinforcements." I frowned. "Reinforcements for what?" He stepped inside and revealed the object he was hiding. An old acoustic guitar, scratched, faded, and missing a string. Sophia gasped. "Is that yours, Mr. Harrison?" "It was," he said. "Hasn't been played in 20 years, but I thought maybe some young hands could give it a second life." Ethan looked unsure. "We don't know how to play." Walter smiled. "Good thing I do." He sat down carefully, tuned the remaining strings, and strummed a slow, warm chord that filled the whole living room. The sound wrapped around the kids like a blanket. Ava clapped instantly. The twins whispered, "Whoa!" Sophia's eyes lit up like she'd just discovered magic. I leaned against the doorway, watching them. "Walter, what are you doing?" "Helping?" he said simply. "After everything you've been carrying, let me take one thing off your shoulders." "But music?" I asked, half laughing. "How is that going to help?" "Because kids don't just need food," he said. "They need something that lifts them, something that makes them feel bigger than the world that scares them." He wasn't wrong. The house had been filled with fear for weeks. We desperately needed something else. Walter handed the guitar to Ethan. "Here. Try." Ethan hesitated. "What if I break it?" "I'll be impressed," Walter said. "I've been trying to break that thing for decades." The kids laughed. A small, shaky laugh, but real. Ethan strummed. The sound wasn't pretty, but the smile that crossed his face was. Sophia tapped a rhythm on the coffee table. Liam hummed off-key. One of the twins tried harmonizing. Ava just danced in circles, nearly tripping over her socks. Walter watched them with soft, watery eyes. "See? Music finds the cracks and fills them." I felt my throat tighten, watching the children, my children, light up after so much fear. It almost broke me in the best way. This is only the beginning. And he was right, because that old guitar wasn't just an instrument. It was the first spark of something that would save us all. If this story warmed your heart even a little, please give it a like. It helps more than you know. The funny thing about music is that it sneaks up on you. One day, the house is quiet, heavy, filled with worry. And the next, there's a guitar string humming in the background, like it's waking the walls up. After Walter's first lesson, the kids didn't stop talking about the guitar. "Grandma, did you hear me?" Ethan asked that night. "I played a real chord." "I heard it," I said, pretending not to tear up. "Sounded like a whole concert." "It sounded like a dying cat," Liam added. Ethan threw a pillow at him. For the first time in weeks, their teasing sounded playful, not panicked. The next afternoon, Walter came back with a box of odds and ends. A tambourine missing a few jingles, a small keyboard with only half the keys working, and 2 plastic recorders that looked like they'd survived a war. "I raided my attic," he announced proudly. "Don't ask how long these have been up there." Sophia lifted the tambourine. "Does this actually work?" "Shake it and find out," Walter said. She did. Timid at first, then louder. The sound was uneven, clunky, a little ridiculous, but her smile lit up the whole living room. Liam and Caleb fought over the mini keyboard until Walter stepped in. "One at a time, boys," Music, not wrestling. Meanwhile, Ava blew into a recorder so hard I thought the windows might crack. I laughed. Sweetheart, maybe start softer. Ava nodded very seriously, then blew even harder. Walter chuckled. She's got spirit. That counts. What amazed me was how quickly each child found their place. Ethan stayed glued to the guitar, focused and determined. Sophia moved with the tambourine like it belonged to her. Caleb picked out a melody on the broken keyboard faster than I could blink. Liam tapped rhythms on every available surface. The twins discovered they could sing, one higher, one lower, perfectly paired. And Ava, well, she contributed pure chaos. But joyful chaos. Within days, the house that once echoed with fear now buzzed with sound, messy, loud, unpolished, beautiful sound. One evening, as I leaned in the doorway watching them, my chest loosened for the first time in weeks. It felt like hope had finally remembered our address. Walter nudged my shoulder. Told you. Music lifts people. It's lifting this whole house, I whispered. He smiled. Just wait, they're only getting started. And he was right. For the first time since Megan walked away, the house didn't just feel alive. It felt like it was singing. The kids had been practicing for weeks. After school, after chores, after the noise of life settled into something they could shape into music. I didn't think anything would come of it. I thought it was just a way to lift their spirits. But Walter had other plans. One morning, he walked in holding a bright yellow flyer. Community Hall Talent Night, he announced. Saturday. We're signing them up. I nearly choked on my coffee. Walter, they're children. They barely know what they're doing. He shrugged. Most performers barely know what they're doing. That's the fun. Sophia perked up. We get to perform? On a real stage? Ethan's eyes widened. Grandma, can we? Please? I hesitated. A stage meant lights, crowds, attention, things we hadn't had in months. But their little faces were glowing with hope. All right, I said, but only if you promise not to panic on stage. We won't, Liam said confidently, then immediately tripped over a chair. Walter grinned. Perfect. They're ready. Talent night was held in the old community hall. Scuffed floors, metal folding chairs, and a dusty curtain that didn't quite close. The place smelled like popcorn and old memories. The kids huddled backstage, clutching their instruments. Ethan's hands shook on the guitar neck. Sophia kept tapping her tambourine nervously. The twins hummed their harmonies in small whispers. Caleb poked at the keyboard like he was defusing a bomb. Ava spun in circles until Walter had to grab her to stop her from rolling off stage. I knelt beside them. Listen, no matter what happens out there, I'm already proud of you. Ethan nodded, swallowing hard. Walter peeked through the curtain. We're up next, he whispered. And the crowd is big tonight. When their names were called, the kids walked out like a parade of nerves and mismatched outfits. The hall went quiet. Then, Ethan strummed the first chord, and my throat tightened the moment the sound filled the room. Not from fear, but from something deeper. Hope, maybe. Sophia shook her tambourine on beat. Caleb found a simple melody. Liam tapped out a steady rhythm. The twins' voices rose, shy at first, then stronger. Ava danced completely off beat, and somehow stole every heart in the audience. The room shifted. People leaned forward. Smiles spread. By the second chorus, the whole crowd was clapping along. Walter whispered, "They've got them." When the song ended, there was a breath of stunned silence. Then the hall exploded in cheers. Ethan's face lit up. The twins hugged mid-stage. Ava bowed dramatically. And I stood there, hand over my heart, trying not to cry. Because for the first time, the world saw what I'd always known. My family wasn't broken. They were shining. I thought the talent night would be the end of it, a sweet little memory the kids could hold on to. I didn't expect anything more. I certainly didn't expect what happened next. The very next morning, I was making oatmeal. Again. When my phone started buzzing on the counter. Not ringing. buzzing. Over and over. Ethan rubbed his eyes. Grandma, your phone's going crazy. I know, I said, confused. It usually only rings when the doctor calls. When I picked it up, there were messages from neighbors, teachers, numbers I didn't even recognize. Is this your grandkids? Have you seen the video? They're amazing. What video? I muttered. Sophia darted over. Let me see. Before I could stop her, she tapped one of the links, and there it was. A shaky recording from the talent show, uploaded by someone in the audience. Their whole performance. All of it. And underneath? 12,000 views. Then 13,000. Then 14,000. Rising right in front of our eyes. My hands went cold just watching the numbers climb. Like the world had suddenly found our front door. Is that real? I whispered. Ethan gasped. Grandma, look at the comments. They scrolled. These kids are incredible. The harmonies. Who are they? I cried watching this. Someone give them a record deal. Caleb covered his mouth. People actually like us? They love you, I corrected, still stunned. Ava jumped up and down. We're famous. We're famous. Then she tripped over a pillow and somehow made herself even more famous. Walter showed up minutes later, waving his phone like it was on fire. Beatrice, they've gone viral. I blinked. Viral? Like, sick? No. He laughed. Good viral. Internet viral. He held up his phone. 60,000 views. It's spreading everywhere. I had to sit down. My knees were not designed for sudden fame. Walter, what does this mean? It means people are seeing them, he said. Really seeing them. The kids huddled around the screen, watching their own video with wide, stunned eyes, like they couldn't believe it was them, shining in front of strangers. Hope warmed my chest, slow and steady. For months, everything we touched seemed to break. But this time, something we made took flight. And none of us had any idea just how far that little video was about to carry us. Within a week, the video had more views than I could count. Every morning the kids ran to my phone like it was Christmas, yelling out new numbers. But nothing prepared me for the message that came on a Thursday afternoon. I was folding laundry pre-8, well, pretending to, when my phone buzzed again. I almost ignored it, but the name on the screen caught my eye. Daniel Carter, music producer. I blinked. A producer? That can't be right. Walter, fixing a loose cabinet door, said, Well, open it before I die of impatience. I tapped the message. Hello, Mrs. Williams. I came across the video of your grandchildren performing at the community hall. Their talent is extraordinary. I would like to meet with you and the children. I'm based in Nashville, but willing to travel. Nashville. I'd heard of Nashville my whole life, but never imagined it would have anything to do with us. My hands shook so badly the phone almost slipped. Walter, read this. Tell me I'm not losing my mind. He squinted, then let out a low whistle. Oh, this is real. This man works with actual artists. I pressed a hand to my chest. What does he want with us? Talent, Walter said, and you've got a whole house full of it. The kids burst in the door then, school bags flying, shoes half on. Grandma, Sophia cried. Did we hit 100,000? More, Ethan said, checking the screen. 120,000. Walter raised his eyebrows. Kids, gather round. Your grandma has news. They circled me like baby birds. I cleared my throat. A music producer saw your video. He wants to meet you. Silence. Then an explosion of voices. No way. For real. A producer. Ava screamed, just because everyone else was screaming. Ethan steadied himself. What do we do? Well, I said, trying to sound calm. First we talk to him. Walter nodded. Smart. Don't jump into anything. That evening, after dinner, I called Daniel. My voice shook through the whole conversation. He was warm and excited. I'd love to fly out this weekend, he said. Your grandchildren have something special. As I hung up, I felt a wave rising in my chest. Hope. Huge and bright. but fear wasn't far behind. A producer. From Nashville. Coming here. To our tiny, messy home. For the first time, the dream wasn't just near. It was knocking on our door. I thought meeting a producer would be terrifying. Turns out, the terrifying part came after. The minute Daniel Carter stepped into our living room, with his polished boots, warm smile, and notebook full of professional scribbles, I knew our lives were about to tilt. "Mrs. Williams," he said, shaking my hand. "These kids are extraordinary. I've watched that video at least 20 times. That many?" Ethan whispered to Sophia. Daniel grinned. "At least. And I'd like to start with something small. A demo. One song, something that feels like your family." Walter, sitting proudly in his armchair, said, "They've got plenty of those." Daniel turned to the kids. "Do you have a song you all love? Something meaningful?" Sophia raised her hand like she was in school. "We wrote one. For Grandma." I nearly dropped the dish towel. "You did what?" Caleb nodded shyly. "It's called Grandma's Love," Ava chimed in. "I named it," Liam added. "It was supposed to be Grandma is Old, but we changed it." "Good choice," I muttered. Daniel laughed. "Well, that's the one we're recording." The next morning, he drove us to a small studio he'd rented nearby. I expected something fancy, but it was cozy. Guitars on the walls, warm lighting, and a big microphone waiting like it had been saving a spot just for them. The kids froze. "Grandma," Sophia whispered, "this is real." "It's as real as it gets," Daniel said. "Come on." They warmed up, tested instruments, practiced the song again. When Ethan strummed the first chord, something shifted in the room. The kids' voices, tiny, rough around the edges, blended into something honest and bright. Not perfect, but deeply theirs. My throat tightened. Daniel listened with his eyes closed. This is special." During a break, Ava pressed a button on the soundboard and triggered a loud beep. "I didn't do it!" she yelled. Daniel nearly fell over laughing. "You absolutely did." Hours passed as they recorded harmonies, retakes, and a sweet little speaking line from Ava. Finally, Daniel played back the rough mix. Soft guitar. Wobbly tambourine. A melody built from hope. 6 small voices, imperfect, but together. And that chorus, "Grandma's love holds us together." When the world falls apart, I covered my mouth, tears blurring everything. Next to me, Walter also teared up. He pressed his hand against his cane like he needed something to hold on to. Daniel looked straight at me. "Mrs. Williams, this isn't a demo." I blinked. "What do you mean?" "This," he said softly, "is the beginning of an album." Silence filled the room. For months, we'd been fighting just to survive. Now, we were creating something that might carry us somewhere new, something bigger than all of us. I noticed it before anyone else did, the way Walter's hands trembled a little more each morning. At first, I blamed the cold, then age, then exhaustion. But the truth didn't stay hidden for long. It showed up the day he couldn't finish a sentence. It was a Tuesday afternoon. The kids were practicing Grandma's Love in the living room, filling the house with noise and pride. Walter sat in his favorite chair, smiling at them, tapping his cane to the beat. But when he stood up to help Ethan fix a chord, his hand slipped off the armrest. "Walter?" I said quickly. "I'm fine," he muttered, brushing it off. But when he stepped forward, his knee buckled. He grabbed the back of the couch to steady himself. The kids froze. "Grandma," Sophia whispered. "Is he okay?" Walter lifted a hand. "All good, all good. Old legs, they forget their job sometimes." But his voice had a tremor that didn't match the smile on his face. After the kids went to bed, I walked him to the door. "You need to tell me what's going on," I said. He sighed, leaning heavier on his cane. "Beatrice, let's just say my engine isn't running like it used to. That's not an answer." He hesitated, then tapped his chest lightly. "Heart. It's been giving me trouble." My stomach dropped. "How much trouble?" "Well," he joked weakly, Enough that my doctor won't let me dance anymore. I didn't laugh. Walter. He finally met my eyes. Tired. Soft. A little scared. I didn't want to say anything. You've got 6 little ones, CPS watching you, and now a music producer in your living room. You don't need an old man's medical problems added to your list. I swallowed hard. Your family. That puts you on the list automatically. He chuckled, but it broke halfway through. It's just slowing me down. Nothing dramatic. But when he tried to walk down the porch steps, he gripped the railing so tight his knuckles turned white. Walter, I whispered. How long have you been hiding this? Since before Megan left, he admitted. Didn't want to worry her. Didn't want to worry anyone. That's not how family works, I said. He paused, breathing deeper than usual. Well, this family has needed hope. Not another problem. I touched his arm gently. You're not a problem. You're the reason we're still standing. He blinked fast, as if holding back something. Just promise me, I said. No more hiding. He nodded. All right. But you promise me something too. What? Let the kids keep dreaming. Even if I can't keep up with them forever. The porch light flickered over his face, and for the first time, I saw how fragile he really was, and how much time we might not have left with him. We were nowhere near ready for a crowd of 3,000 people. But ready or not, the Murat Theater had our names printed on a poster the size of my living room wall. It started with a phone call from Daniel. Beatrice, he said, practically buzzing. The Murat has an opening for a youth showcase next month. I sent them the kids' video. They want them. All 6. I nearly dropped the phone. 3,000 seats, Daniel. That's not a showcase. That's an army. He laughed. They'll be fine. Trust me. I tried. I really did. The day of the performance, the kids were buzzing like shaken soda cans. Ethan paced backstage with his guitar, like he was walking in circles to keep himself from exploding. What if I forget the chord progression? He asked. You won't, I said, straightening his shirt. Your fingers know it better than your brain. Sophia peeked through the curtain. Grandma. It's huge. The whole place is full. She wasn't exaggerating. The theater glowed under warm lights, balconies full, air humming with anticipation. One of the twins tugged my sleeve. Do famous people feel like this? I think they do, I said. And they still walk out there. Walter sat nearby, leaning heavily on his cane. His hand was shaking again. I noticed it. And it scared me more than the crowd. Still, he smiled. Nerves mean the heart is awake. I squeezed his arm. You sure you're okay? Wouldn't miss this, he whispered. When the kids' names were announced, they walked on stage as a cluster of nerves and mismatched shoes. The crowd cheered. Loud, strong, warm. Ethan struck the first chord. The note rang out and echoed all the way up to the balcony rafters, filling the space like it had been waiting for them. Then they sang. 6 small voices, shaky at first, then growing braver with every line. Sophia's tambourine shimmered. Caleb's keyboard melody held steady. The twins' harmonies blended perfectly. Ava danced wildly, somehow always a beat behind but absolutely unforgettable. The audience leaned in, lifted by the sound. Some wiped tears. Some swayed. Some smiled with their whole hearts. I felt mine swell until it hurt. Walter pressed his cane to his chest, breathing carefully, pride all over his face. Then came the final note. Bright, hopeful, powerful, and it echoed up through every corner of the theater, hanging in the air before fading. For a heartbeat, the room was silent. Then 3,000 people rose to their feet. A standing ovation. Ava bowed so low she nearly fell off the stage. The kids laughed, overwhelmed. And me? I stood backstage with my hand over my mouth, tears running freely. Our little family had filled a theater, and for the first time, the world wasn't just listening. It was cheering them on. The kids had never sounded better. And somehow, deep down, I think Walter knew this would be the last time he'd ever hear them sing. It happened the night of their biggest performance yet. An outdoor charity concert. Thousands gathered under string lights, bundled coats, warm breath rising into the cold air. The organizers said the kids were the main attraction. I thought they were being polite. They weren't. Backstage, Walter sat in a folding chair, wrapped in a blanket, cane resting across his lap. "You all right?" I asked softly. "I'm fine," he said, smiling. "Just old bones. They creak louder in the winter." But his hands were trembling harder than before. I knelt beside him. "If you're tired, we can go home." He shook his head. "No, I want to hear them tonight. Something tells me this one matters." A heaviness settled in my chest, but I didn't press him. When the kids stepped on stage, the crowd erupted, thousands of voices, clapping and cheering like they'd been waiting all night for this moment. Walter closed his eyes as Ethan began strumming the opening chord of their newest song, "Carry Us Home." Sophia's voice carried out first, then the twins, harmonizing softly. Caleb on keys, Ava, miraculously, keeping rhythm, and Ethan leading them, strong and sure. Walter breathed deeper, slower, as the music wrapped around us. When the chorus swelled, he whispered, "That's it. That's beautiful." I touched his arm. "Walter?" He didn't respond. Not with words. The cheering crowd blurred into a distant hum, loud out there, but fading around us, like the world was stepping back to give him peace. He smiled one final time, soft and content. His cane slipped slightly, landing gently against the chair, quiet, final. My breath caught. He looked peaceful, too peaceful. The final note of the song echoed across the night sky, rising above the crowd. They exploded with applause, cheers, whistles, pure joy, unaware that backstage, something far more intimate was happening. The kids came running off stage, flushed with excitement. "Grandma, did you see?" Their smiles dissolved when they saw my face. I pulled all 6 of them close. "He heard you," I whispered. "Every note." They cried. I cried. But it wasn't a loud grief. It was soft, grateful. A goodbye wrapped in music. Walter passed in the place he loved most, listening to the children he helped bring back to life. The morning after Walter passed, the house felt different. Not empty, just quieter, in a way that hurt. The empty chair where Walter used to sit felt heavier than the rest of the room. The kids sat around the kitchen table, bowls of oatmeal growing colder by the minute. No one lifted a spoon. The guitar leaned against the wall, untouched, like even it knew something was missing. Sophia finally whispered, "Grandma? Is he really gone?" I nodded, keeping my voice as steady as I could. "Yes, sweetheart." He passed peacefully. Ava crawled into my lap, clutching her stuffed rabbit. "But he was here yesterday." "I know," I said softly. Sometimes, goodbyes happen fast. Ethan wiped his eyes. He said that performance mattered. Maybe he knew. None of us spoke. The silence stretched, heavy but gentle, like Walter was still giving us space to breathe. Eventually, Caleb stood. "Should we practice? Or is that disrespectful?" "It's not disrespectful," I said. "Walter loved hearing you play. He'd want you to keep going." Liam sniffled. "He always said music helps sad hearts." "He was right," I whispered. The kids gathered their instruments, moving slowly, as though the room itself weighed more than before. Ethan tuned the guitar with trembling fingers. Sophia tested her tambourine. The twins held hands. Ava hummed a little melody, off-key but sincere. They started with the song Walter taught them. A simple tune, he said, could brighten a cloudy day. At first, the notes wobbled. Then they steadied. And then, they found their courage again. I closed my eyes, letting the music settle into the room. It wasn't polished. It wasn't perfect. It was honest. Grief and love braided together. When the final note faded, Sophia wiped her cheeks. "Grandma, do you think he heard us?" "Yes," I said. "I think he hears every note." Later that afternoon, the kids gathered Walter's old music sheets, his broken tambourine jingles, his scribbled teaching notes. They placed everything carefully into a small wooden box, Ethan whispered. This is his legacy box. Ava nodded. We keep it forever. I rested my hands on their shoulders, and we carry what he taught us. That's how he stays. The sun dipped low, filling the room with warm, golden light. Their grief was real, but so was their strength. And in the middle of that sadness, a new beginning was already forming. The last person I expected to see on my front porch was Megan, and certainly not dressed like that. A black SUV pulled up in front of the house, shiny enough to reflect the whole neighborhood. The kids pressed their faces to the window. Grandma, who is that? Ethan asked. I didn't answer, because when the door opened and Megan stepped out, designer coat, sunglasses, hair done like Shed, walked out of a magazine, I felt my heart drop straight into my stomach. Sophia gasped. Mom? The word hit harder than I expected. Megan waved awkwardly. Hi. Surprise. Ava blinked. Who is she? Liam whispered. That's Mom. Ava. Ava frowned. But Mom left. The innocence in her voice nearly broke me. Megan cleared her throat. Can we talk inside? We can talk right here, I said. She hesitated. Okay. Look. I know I disappeared. I know what I did was horrible. And I know you probably hate me. I don't hate you, I said. But I'm not handing out forgiveness like coupons. She winced. Fair. The kids lingered behind me, unsure whether to step forward or hide. That alone told the story. You all got big, Megan said softly. We didn't stop growing just because you left, Ethan replied. She flinched. I studied her. Her car, her clothes, the practiced confidence. Where have you been? I got help, she said. Real help. Counseling, treatment, a real job. I'm doing well. Better than I ever thought I could. Well enough to afford that car, Caleb muttered. She smiled weakly. Yeah, maybe I wanted to show you I wasn't the same person who walked away. Ethan crossed his arms. So why come back now? Megan swallowed. Because I saw the video. The one that went viral, and when I heard your voices, I realized you became everything I wasn't strong enough to be. And now, she paused, trembling. I want to be part of their lives again. Sophia's fingers tightened around the edge of my shirt. Ethan's jaw clenched. The twins went still, and Ava hid half behind my leg. Their silence said everything. I kept my voice steady. Then you'll have to earn it, Megan. Slowly. Carefully. And on their terms. She nodded, tears spilling. I will. I promise. But promises. Wed heard those before. Megan tried. I'll give her that much. She started showing up every afternoon, usually with something in her hands. Cookies from a bakery, new notebooks, little toys she thought the kids might like. She was trying to fill the years Shed missed by throwing things into the gaps. But the kids didn't want things. They wanted the mother they lost. And that woman wasn't the one standing on my porch. One afternoon, she knocked again, smiling too brightly. Hi, everyone. I brought cupcakes. The kids were in the living room practicing scales. They froze when they heard her voice. Ava whispered. Do we have to say hi? No, sweetheart, I told her gently. Only if you want to. Megan stepped inside anyway, holding out the box like an offering. They're chocolate. Your favorite, Ethan. He didn't move. Neither did the others. Sophia looked at me first, then at Megan. Why are you acting like everything's normal? Megan blinked. Honey, I'm not. I just want to spend time with you. Now? Caleb said. After all this time? The room tightened. Megan set the box on the table, her hands shaking. I know I hurt you. I know I made horrible choices. But I'm your mother. I want to fix things. Ethan's jaw clenched. You're not our mother. The words hit the room like a snapped string. Megan's face crumpled. Ethan, don't say that. You left us. He said. You didn't call. You didn't check. You didn't care. That isn't true, she whispered. Sophia stepped forward, voice shaking but clear. If you cared, you would have come back before now. The twins nodded silently. Ava hid behind my leg again. Megan looked at me, desperate. Mom, say something. Tell them I'm trying. I know you're trying, I said softly. But they're allowed to feel what they feel. Ethan stepped closer to her, but not in kindness. In certainty. You don't get to come back just because our video went viral, he said. You don't get to show up now that we're doing good. Tears spilled down Megan's cheeks. I'm not here because of that. He shook his head. You may be our mom by blood, but Grandma is the one who raised us. She's the one who stayed. Then he said it again, quieter, but more final. You are not our mother. Megan covered her mouth, sobbing. The kids stood firm, and for the first time, she finally understood the weight of walking away. After everything that happened with Megan, I expected the kids to fall apart. But they didn't. They grew, not overnight, not without tears, but steadily, like plants finding sunlight in places they never expected. Ethan was the first to change. One morning he came into the kitchen with his guitar strapped on and a stack of schoolbooks in his arms. Grandma, he said, I want to take music theory and extra math. Daniel says if we're serious about an album, I should know my stuff. Math? I teased. You volunteering for math? He shrugged. I guess dreams come with homework. Sophia began writing songs in a notebook she carried everywhere, even to bed. Some were silly, some were heartbreakingly honest. She'd sing little pieces to Ava, who always clapped whether or not it made sense. Caleb dove into learning keyboard properly. He'd sit for hours watching tutorials on an old laptop someone donated. Liam practiced rhythm drills every night, tapping out beats on the table until I finally said, Baby, enough. The furniture is tired. The twins discovered that harmony wasn't just something they were good at. It was something they loved. Sometimes, when they practiced, I could almost hear Walter humming along. Daniel noticed all of it. During one of our meetings, he looked at me and said, Mrs. Williams, they're not just talented. They're hungry. They're ready. Ready for what? I asked. For the next level. National competition. Live radio. Bigger stages. I almost dropped my tea. Daniel, these are children. Yes, he said. Children who have something real to say. The kids overheard him, and suddenly the house exploded with excitement. We could sing on the radio? People in other states will hear us? Does this mean we get real microphones? Can I wear sparkles? Ava yelled. I raised my hands. Slow down. One dream at a time. But inside, I was proud. And terrified. And proud again. Because I knew this wasn't just about music anymore. It was about breaking cycles. About stepping out of the shadow Megan left behind. About proving that where you start doesn't decide where you end. One evening, after a long rehearsal, Ethan sat beside me on the porch. Grandma, he said softly, are we really good enough for all this? I put my arm around him. Sweetheart, you're good enough for anything you're willing to work for. He nodded slowly. And in that moment, watching my grandkids chase a future bigger than anything our family had ever touched, I realized they weren't rising from the past. They were rising beyond it. By the time the album was finished, I thought things would calm down. I was wrong. Life didn't slow. It exploded. One morning, Daniel came over with a grin too wide to trust. I have news, he said, dropping his bag on my kitchen table. I crossed my arms. The last time you said that, the kids ended up singing for 3,000 people. Well, he said, this is bigger. How big? Ethan asked, appearing behind me with his guitar. Daniel took a breath. International big. The kids froze. Sophia blinked. International like Canada international? Bigger, Daniel said. Caleb whispered. Like Europe? Daniel nodded. Europe. Asia. Australia. A full world tour. 8 months. All expenses covered. The room exploded. No way. We're going on a plane. Do they have microphones on other continents? Does Australia have ice cream? Ava shouted. I sat down before my knees gave up. Daniel, these are children. Yes, he said gently. And the world wants to hear them. Ethan looked at me, hope in his eyes, but fear too. Grandma, can we do this? I reached out and held his hand. If we go together. That was all they needed. The next months felt like a dream stitched together with airports, rehearsals, hotel rooms, and stages bigger than anything we had imagined. Some nights, exhaustion hit them so hard they fell asleep in their stage clothes. In London, the crowd sang along with every word. In Tokyo, people held up signs with the kids' names written in perfect handwriting. In Sydney, Ava waved so hard she dropped her microphone, and the audience loved her even more. Backstage, they were still the same kids. Caleb losing his shoes, the twins arguing about who sang which harmony, Sophia rewriting lyrics minutes before performing, and Ethan, he grew into himself, confident, steady, a real leader. Every night, someone asked for interviews, photos, autographs. I stood in the corner, watching the world fall in love with the family I almost lost. One night after a show in Paris, Ethan sat beside me on the balcony. "Grandma," he said quietly, "do you think Walter would be proud?" I looked at the glowing Eiffel Tower and nodded. He wouldn't just be proud. He'd be bragging to every ghost in heaven. Ethan laughed through tears. And I knew then, we weren't just surviving anymore. We were living a life bigger than anything we'd dared to dream. And the world was singing along. Coming home after the world tour felt strange at first. The house looked smaller, quieter. The kind of quiet that doesn't hurt anymore, just rests beside you. The kids dropped their bags in the living room and flopped onto the couch like they'd never been on a stage in their lives. Ava sighed dramatically. "Grandma, I missed our ugly carpet." "It's not ugly," I said. "It's very ugly," Caleb corrected. We all laughed. Later that evening, we sat around the kitchen table. Just us. No cameras, no crowds, no deadlines. Ethan strummed gently. The twins hummed. Sophia took notes for a new song. Liam tapped a rhythm on a cereal box. And Ava stole everyone's snacks. It felt right. Simple. Whole. Ethan looked up. "Grandma, is this what it's supposed to feel like?" "What, sweetheart?" "Family. Home." I thought about everything. The night Megan left. The fear. The oatmeal dinners. The CPS visits. The bruised vegetables. The music lessons. Walter's cane tapping on my floor. The first performance. The applause. The grief. The healing. The world tour. And somehow, landing right back here. I breathed in slowly. Yes. This is exactly what it's supposed to feel like. Sophia rested her head on my shoulder. "Do you ever get scared, lose all of this?" "All the time," I admitted. "But then I look at you six, and I remember we built this together. And things you build with love don't disappear. They grow." The room fell quiet, not heavy, not sad. Just full. Before bed, Ethan paused at my door. "Grandma, thank you for not giving up. On us, on everything." I brushed his cheek. "You saved me too, you know." He smiled, small and real. When the house finally settled, I sat alone for a moment and let the truth rise in me, clear and simple. Family isn't who stays from the beginning. It's who chooses to stay when everything falls apart. And somehow, we chose each other. And that made all the difference.